In this video, I'm going to show you the complete process of me taking a trade on US30 from start to the end with the help of fundamentals that I use in my strategy. This is going to be a pure price action strategy. We will not be using any indicator, but we are going to use the macroeconomic events, or we call them news events, to determine whether the trade will go in our favor or not. So make sure that you watch this video until the end so you do not miss out any information. With that being said, let's get into this video. Here is the US30 chart on 4-hour time frame. I took a buy position right from here and ended up closing my trade right here, which made me over $4,000 in just few hours. Now the very first thing that I recommend you to do that is that we are going to find the overall market direction, and in this chart right here we can see the market has been going up for a long period of time. We're making higher highs, higher lows, higher lows, then a new higher high, higher low, and then we recently just created this higher high right here. So we have been making the movements to the upside based on the market structure area that can confirm that yes, we are making higher highs and higher lows. But that's just not it. As I said, that we're gonna use the fundamentals to our advantage to determine whether a buy trade can be a good trade opportunity or not. So if we zoom out, you can see that we have been going down for a very long period of time. We started dropping on US30 since the start of this year. We have made this big movement to the downside. Right here we have this big movement, and then market made a pullback. And every time when we create a new lower low on the higher time frames, there is definitely a pullback. Market never moves in one direction forever. If it goes down, creates a lower low, it always comes back in a proper pullback movement before it starts to drop. So here we have this pullback, then there was another pullback when the market made this new lower low right here. We made this pullback and then the market dropped again. We have a pullback right here as well. Then when we created this lower low, we can see that there was a deep pullback, but again market followed the overall direction as we are going for the downside based on the macroeconomic events, because the Feds were increasing the rate hikes, the gold was dropping, US dollar was getting a lot of strength across all pairs, and US30 was also dropping, and stock market also dropped for a very long period of time. So we made this deeper pullback, and then the overall sentiment from the big players of the market, it resumed, and we created a new lower low. So we are making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and we're just going down to create new lower lows and lower highs. So right after this movement, when we made this lower low, market again started to make a pullback. Now when we are making a pullback, we should keep in mind that it does not mean that we should not buy. We can take the small buy opportunities inside the pullback to take the advantage of the movements. Now the overall sentiment is going for the downside, but the recent sentiment, as we are making a pullback inside this overall sellers market, as we are making the pullback, so we can always take the buy opportunity if we get any. So when we started to make a movement to the upside, this was the previous low that we had. Lower low was here, and from right here market rejected the lower low. It could not went down, and buyers started to go up. Now this is the price level when the CPI data came out in the month of October. The CPI data came out, inflation was higher than expected. US30 dropped again because of the fear that the Federal Reserve Bank will continue to raise the interest rate as they are not able to control the inflation. So the market dropped, but we could not make a new low. We rejected, and then there was some speech from the Feds which really made the market to turn into the opposite direction. This was the movement happened after the CPI data got released. So we have this big buyers movement on US30 when the news was released in the month of October for the CPI data. And this movement is the result of FOMC. The Federal Reserve Bank increased the rate hikes by 75 base points, and that is the movement which happened right after the Federal Reserve Bank announced that they are raising the interest rate by 75 base points. And then we have this movement right here which happened after the NFP in the start of November. So as you can see, all these big buyers movement actually happened based on the fundamentals, based on the macroeconomic events. So if we just draw a trend line, we can see that from this level to here, we are respecting the market price. This movement was the result of CPI data in the month of October. This movement was the result of the FOMC in the month of October. This movement was the result of the NFP in the start of November. And when we made this movement, we slightly created a new higher high on 1 hour time frame, which we can see from here. We went higher, than our previous higher high, which is right here. So I was watching this and I knew how the market is moving and how the macroeconomic events, the fundamentals, the news events, they're making US30 to go to the upside every time when the big news release. So I was waiting to see how the market will come to this trend line, whether we will break to the downside and will start resuming the overall market sentiment from the 4-hour daily time frames, or we will just reject at this area and will go up to continue our pullback on US30. So when the market came right here, we can see that how buyers started to spend some time here. It seemed like the market was waiting for something, and yes, it was waiting for something. This big movement that happened that you see right here, it is also a result of the news event, and I took this trade from here, ended up closing at the recent high, put my stop loss below the area from where the movement started to happen. So now I'm gonna tell you why I took the trade from here. So on the 15-minute time frame, we can see that when the market reached the level of the trend line, we started to range right here. So our range means that there is something going to happen in the market sooner or later. So for me, if there is a range, then I start to wait and I start looking out the possibilities of any news event that we can have. So I then realized that we are gonna have another CPI data in the month of November on the date November 10th. So when I was waiting, I knew either we are gonna reject from this level and we will go to the upside, or the other scenario is that we will break this trend line and will start the overall 4-hour daily time frame market direction. So these are the two things that were gonna happen, and we were also having the range right at the trend line. We can see that how well the market is making higher highs and higher lows, and every time when we come to this trend line, we respect this area based on some sort of fundamentals. We respected it right at here because of the recent inflation data. We respected it right at here because of FOMC. We respected it right at here because of NFP. So either we are gonna respect this level or we will just break it to the downside. So if the inflation data, as at that time it wasn't released and there was no movement like this when I was watching it, so I realized if the inflation will be controlled, that means the US30 will just go to the upside and it will be a crazy movement. But if we see inflation data higher than expected, which means inflation is still high, CPI data indicates that the Federal Reserve Bank is not able to control inflation, so gold will go down, US30 will go down, stock market will go down, and all pairs of US dollar will start picking weakness against US dollar, which means US dollar will start picking up strength. So I was waiting to see how the news will come out and how can we react at this area. So when the news came out, the CPI data was lower than the expectation, a lot lower than expectation. So it means that the Federal Reserve Bank, because they have been raising the interest rates for a very long period of time, so it means that they are now controlling the inflation because of that. So if the inflation is controlled, so there is a chance that there will be no interest rate hikes by 75 basis points in the future. So that was my reasons when I decided to take the buy from here, put my stop loss right at here and my target at the recent higher high, which is basically right here. So that made me over $4,000 and it was more than 1 ratio, 3.27 risk to reward trade. And we can see how well the market performed. This is the movement that happened. So if we just look at on 1 hour time frame, we can see that we again respected this trend line the fourth time based on the idea of the fundamentals, the macroeconomic events with the help of price action. So this is how you can use simple price action with the help of fundamentals to take advantage and to take a good trade opportunity. Let me know if you have any question, and if you want me to make any video of your favorite topic, just let me know in the comment section as well. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. Peace out.